Hi everyone, my name is Pratik, and in this video we are going to learn how we can set up enhanced conversion for Calendly Iframe. And I'll start with what the challenge is, and if you have come across this problem, if you have come across the problem of setting up enhanced conversion for web for a Calendly Iframe, you probably know what the challenge is, but I'm going to list that out anyways. So the first problem or the first checkpoint is Calendly is embedded as an iframe, and along with that our GTM container is loaded in the parent window. So the GTM container cannot access data or the event that is happening in the iframe. And for enhanced conversion for web, we need that user provided data such as email or address, which is only available in the iframe. So you might be tempted to say that just use the cross-frame tracking, but we will see why is it not as simple. And so we are going to cover in this video the basics of enhanced conversion for web and also the basics for cross-site iframe listening. We will also learn to use the Calendly API, which is quite an important part in this video, and then finally we will see a detailed step-by-step guide on how you can set up enhanced conversion for your Calendly iframe. So let's get started with the video. And if you are not aware what is Calendly, Calendly is an online scheduling tool which you can embed on your website as an iframe, and using which the users on your website can book online appointments or meetings with you. So here is a screenshot from our website. You can see the calendar embedded as an iframe in the Calendly iframe. So that is what Calendly is. And what is enhanced conversion for web, which we are going to set up? So it is a feature. Enhanced conversion web is a feature which can improve the accuracy of your conversion measurement by sending hashed first-party conversion data from your website to Google. And it is a four-step process. We can understand it like this. First, a Google signed-in user views your ad or clicks on your ad and then lands on your website. So that is step 2 here. And once they land on your website, they perform a conversion action. It could be, let's say, they purchase an item, or they sign up for an event, or they submit a form. It could be anything that you have defined as a conversion. And along with that conversion data, you would also capture something extra. And this something extra would be the first party data that can identify the user. And this first party data could be email, their first name, last name, or their phone number, or any other fields that can identify them. And once you gather that, you would hash that. And by hashing, I mean the Google tag would hash that for you. You do not need to worry about that. And once that is hashed, it would be sent back to the Google servers. And once it is received at the Google servers, that hashed data will be matched against the Google hashed user data, and a conversion will be reported into your account, which will be fairly accurate than the most measurement data. And why is it called the enhanced conversion of web? Is the reason that we are gathering something more than just the conversion data. We are gathering the first party user data along with the conversion data. That is why it is called enhanced conversion for web. And now that we understand what is enhanced conversion for web, what is cross-site iframe listening? So to understand what is cross-site iframe listening, we first need to understand what is an iframe. So basically, iframe is a website within a website. So once you load a website, and within that website an iframe would be loaded. An iframe is nothing but an second website that is being loaded into your website. And we would refer that iframe, both those frames, the parent frame and the iframe, and the communication between those two, as cross-site iframe tracking, because there are two frames and the tracking is, or the data transfer or the communication is happening between the two. So in essence, cross-frame listening is the method of detecting and responding to events within an iframe from the parent page. And how that is done? That is done using an API called Post Message API in JavaScript, which will allow the parent page to listen for a specific actions taken by a user within the iframe. And that action could be anything such as submitting a form, even a click, or appointment booking on Calendly, as in our case now. So we'll see how that is done. And now that we have everything in place, I'll outline the solution. The solution that we are going to implement is this. In the first step, we will create a cross-site listener using a custom HTML tag and listen for Calendly events that are happening in the iframe. So we know how cross-site listener or the cross-site tracking works. The iframe would broadcast all the data to whoever is listening, and we are listening from the parent page. We will listen to that data, and once we capture the data, we will make a data layer push of the data. So Calendly would broadcast the event ID and invitee ID associated with the meeting that is booked, and we would capture that data from the parent frame and make a data layer push of that data. Once we have a data layer push of the event ID and invitee ID, we would use that data to call the Calendly API, and we would call a method from the Calendly API which will return the user's email associated with that particular event ID and invitee ID. And once that email is returned to us by the Calendly API, we can simply use that email for our enhanced conversion tag. So that is how this three-step process works. And now that we have outlined the solution, let me tell you what the requirements are. As we discussed, we would need the event UUID, that is event unique identifier, the invitee unique identifier, invitee UUID, and both of these we can get from the Calendly's message data. And when we say Calendly's message data, we mean that the data that is being broadcasted by the Calendly iframe and to which we are listening to from the parent frame. So that is where we get the first two data. And the third one, the API access token. If you have already worked with APIs before, you know what a API access token is. It is a secret key to your account, to your Calendly account. So we'll see how we can generate that secret key or the API access token for a Calendly account, and that is required to call the APIs the Calendly APIs which will return the email, user's email. And the last piece in the puzzle is the endpoint URL. So every API call needs a endpoint URL, and that is available in the Calendly API documentation. I'll also list that out in the description or in the video itself. So now that we have all the requirements in place, we have our solution outlined, let's jump right into GTM and see how we can set up this enhanced conversion for Calendly iframe. Alright, let's get. Alright, so here we are in our Google Tag Manager, and first of all we will go and create a new tag, a new custom HTML tag. To do that, we'll click on new and then tag configuration. We'll select custom HTML tag there, and then we'll write some code here. I have already done that, so I'm not going to do it again. I'll just explain to you what is being done. I've already created this custom HTML Calendly listener. So if I expand that, what this listener is doing is it is listening to the events that is being broadcasted by the Calendly iframe. Calendly iframe by default or out of the box broadcasts all these messages of every event that is happening in it, or every action that is being taken by the user. So we are just adding a listener in the parent frame to listen to all those messages that is being broadcasted by Calendly. So how this works is it initiates a data layer if that is not initialized, and as a event listener we can see we are listening for a message event, and we have some if conditions to match that. We would only listen for something if in that message this is present, that is a Calendly.eventScheduled string is present. Only then we will perform certain actions. And what actions we will perform? We will extract event UUID and invitee UUID from the message data that is being broadcasted. So I'll not really go into the details of regex matches and how that is working here. We'll attach this piece of code as a blog post or in our GitHub page. You can find that description below. and you do not need to make any changes in this. You will just need to paste that code in a custom HTML tag, as simple as that. And I'm just going to explain what is the data layer push that is being made. So the event name is Calendly. There is a Calendly event parameter, which we will see what the value is here. It is being split on a dot, we will see. And there is an event UID that we have extracted using a regex from the message that we are receiving. And similarly, we are also extracting an invite UID from the message broadcast that the Calendly is doing. And if the broadcast is not present, if we are not able to listen to that broadcast, we will simply make a else condition which will push a data layer without the event UID and the invite UID. And further, once we make this data layer push, we can also create data layer variables to capture these event key value pairs. We'll make a data layer variable of this event this parameter key, and then this parameter key, and then we'll in that data layer variable we will get the values of these. So once that is done, we will attach a trigger to that. We have attached an all pages trigger to that, but you can also refine it to fire on only the pages where Calendly is embedded on the website. So you can restrict it to a few pages, but we are firing this on all pages. You can customize it according to your needs. So once that is set up, the Calendly listener is set up, we can save that, and now we will go into our variable section, which is right here. So once that opens, we will first create a few data layer variables. To do that, we'll come down to the user defined variables, click on new, click on variable configuration, and then data layer variable. Here we will write exactly what the data layer push that we were making. So I've already done that. I'm not going to do that again. So I'll just show you how it looks. So basically, this. So we saw the data layer push that we were making has a key called invite underscore UUID. So we'd like write very specifically like that, so that it gets the value of that key, and simply for similarly for event UID as well, and then the event name as well, which would be somewhere down here. So you know what the drill is. And then this is the important part. We will now create a new custom JavaScript variable. After doing all those data layer variable, we will create a custom JavaScript variable. The process is same. You just need to select a custom JavaScript variable from here, which will give you a space to write some code. And again, I'm going to discard it because I have already done that. I'm just going to open and show you how that is working. So in this custom JavaScript variable that you just created, you're going to paste this code, and in this code you are just going to replace this part. So this is our Calendly API access token. Obviously this is fake. I have changed that for security purposes, and you should also keep that as secret. You should not tell your API access token to anyone else. And once you get that code, we'll as discussed paste that as a post link, article link, or in a GitHub link there, which you would find in the description. You just need to replace this string from bearer till end right here. And let me just explain what this does. So this is calling a Calendly API method using the event UUID that we just pushed into the data layer and the invite UUID, and the method returns a email. So you can see we are making a XML HTTP request, which is the older method of fetch method. So once we make that request here, we are trying to make that request, and if the response is okay, that is 200, we will pass the request to return only the email. So from the response object, we'll go to the resource object, and within that we'll find the email. So you do not have to change anything, but only this part right here. You have to replace it with your API access token, and we'll see that in a bit how to generate that as well. So that is how it works. This JavaScript variable, custom JavaScript variable, is calling a Calendly API, which is returning the user's email. So that is it. And now we will save that, and remember the name. It is called CGS user email from Calendly API. And once that is done, we'll go back to our tag section, and we will create a Google Ads conversion tag. So let me just search that. Alright, here it is. So we'll go, sorry, this is the wrong one, I think. Alright, so this is the right one. Yeah. So once we get that, we'll create a Google Ads conversion tracking tag. We will list our conversion ID and conversion label, etc. There we will add a trigger to that. The trigger would be the same that we had made a data layer push for. It was called Calendly, and the specific Calendly event name would be event_scheduled. You can keep this as it is, or maybe try to change that, but you would also have to change the data layer push that you are making. So I'll recommend that keep it as it is to avoid any confusion. So that is the trigger that you would like that you would want to create. And once that is done, you would come back here and on the tag and select this check field here, which says include user provided data from your website. And in this field that lets you choose all the UPD variables, that is user provided data variables, you would create a new variable, and this would create a variable called as user provided data, and you would select manual configuration, and for the email you would select the email that the custom JavaScript variable that was making the API call, which was this in our case. So once you select that, you would suitably rename that and save it. I'm not going to save it because I have already done that, so I'm going to discard it, but you will see here I have already set it up. I'm going to open it and show it to you. So this is the email that we are using, and in a similar fashion, if you have a phone number, you can also get the phone number or don't scrap the phone number as you wish, but that is not very important. You could use both of them, or you could use either of them. So we would currently focus only on the email. So that is done. We would save that, and we discussed about the trigger, what trigger we need to make. Just to recap that, we would create event name Calendly, and then a variable called which would capture the value of Calendly event, which would contain event schedule, and then we'll save that. We will fill all the conversion ID and conversion label, and then we will save the tag and suitably rename it. So I'm not going to save the changes because I have already done that, and yep, that would be it. And then once you preview it, we're going to do that in the end, but first let's just discuss how we can generate the API access token from the Calendly dashboard. Alright, so to generate the API access token, you would log into your Calendly account, that is calendly.com, and then you could log in there, and to generate the API access token, you would, on the left hand side there is a tab called integration and apps. You would click that, and then from the list of all the integrations you would select API and webhooks, and once you are on the page you will select get a token now, which you will get a warning that this is the personal access token and only be created as admin will grant access to Calendly data for everyone. This yes, you can click continue. You can name that token. I'm going to name that as test. You can create a token. You will get a OTP on your registered email. I'm going to fill that in. A second. Let me give me a second. So once I fill that in, it will show me this personal access token. Once I copy it, I cannot regenerate or look at it again, so I'll copy the token by clicking on this button and we'll close this. Now the token is on my clipboard, right? So I'll go back to the variable section in our Google Tag Manager, and as we discussed previously, I'll open the custom JavaScript variable that is making an API call, and I'll just paste that here. So it will start from I'll leave the bearer as it is, delete that and paste it like this. So once I have done that, I'll save it and then I can preview it. But alright, yeah, so that is it. So now I'm already in my preview mode and I have navigated to the page where the Calendly iframe is embedded, and I'm going to make an appointment, let's say for 31st May at 12 AM. Next, I'll fill in a test emails and test name. Let's say it is called test.com. I'll schedule an event, and now that we see if we are scheduled, but let's go back to our preview mode and let's see what fired. So we have listened to the Calendly broadcast messages and we have made a data layer push of this. You could see there is an event, there is a Calendly event, there is an event UUID and invite UUID. We had made that data layer push from the custom HTML tag, and once that custom HTML tag is has fired, the data layer push is made. Using that we have fired our Google Ads conversion tracking tag, which gives us the email, and because the phone number is undefined, it is not there, but we have got the email from the Calendly API. So that is working. You can also test that from the network calls, and I believe to do that you would have to open each request one by one. If we are lucky, let's see which one is that. Yep, I think this one is that. If there is this, you can filter your network request by your conversion ID, and then go to select your network request and then click on payload here, and if you see there is a EM parameter which starts with tv.1 tilde em dot, and then there is some string. If there is some string like this here, you can be sure that some enhanced conversion data is being sent in a hashed format. So there is some data being sent, and we can be sure that it is an email because we have an email in the tag that we can see that was fetched from the Calendly API. So that is how it works, and I would like to clarify a few more things if you are advanced user. Let's say you may have questions that why we are making that API call from the custom JavaScript variable rather than using the custom HTML script. So the answer for that would be due to security reasons, because you saw that we are directly using the our API access token into the code. So if we use the custom HTML tag, it would expose our API access token to the public, and we would not like to do that. So instead we would hide it by some level by using the custom JavaScript variable. And we could have used the fetch method, which is the more modern method to call any API, but the JavaScript variables only support the XHR method, which is the XML HTTP request method rather than the fetch method. So that is why we have chosen the custom JavaScript variable to call an API and use the XHR method right here. So now that you know how to set up your enhanced conversion for Calendly iframe, you can go ahead and make more variables or make the API calls for, let's say, name or last name even, or phone number if that is being provided to you by the Calendly API. We have done that only for the email right now. So that is what this video was about. I think you learned a new thing, and let us know that in the comments. And that's it. Have a good day.